You're listening to 412 J. Aquarius Radio, the #1 radio station in the east half of Amadias, and also the only one. It's a sunny summer day here in Kairos, the province's capital. The residents of Ankon are slow to wake in the heat, and half of Ixton are currently on vacation, either leaving to Hishen, which is said to be quite comfortable this time of year, or going in the opposite direction, to the Crystal Rainforest. Though the rainforest is quite the hot area in the summer season, especially with a humidity of 85%, its beautiful vistas have made it quite the tourist attraction, and of course, who can forget its large grandiose beaches? So if you're looking for a summer getaway, there's no better place in J. Aquarius than the town of Crystal. While Kairos may be the capital of the province, Crystal is the new capital of tourism. And while you are there sipping a nice coconut water, perhaps you can learn a thing or two about the rich history of this town, the arcane scholars, and their elusive field of study, magic.
Oh boy, have I been busy making this adventure map. It's been a bit since the last devlog, and while I've made a good amount of progress, as you can see, pretty much all of these mountains were like entirely re-sculpted and forested since the last devlog, which, if you have not seen it, is where I made these cars. And while admittedly the cars are not 100% complete, they're most of the way there. At least definitely enough for me to feel comfortable starting a new project. And that's what this is, the town of Crystal. Now, at the moment, you can realize that it's, well, pretty empty. And that's partially due to the fact that absolutely none of the interiors are finished. There's just a lot of blank space here that needs to be filled in, and definitely will be at some point. Unfortunately for me, though, the main builder for the map is currently on vacation and won't be back for, like, another week. But that just gives me plenty of time to execute my idea for this devlog before he comes back. You see, I really like magic systems in video games. In fact, I've actually made my own sort of magic system in my previous Minecraft map at the Imperishable Void. And even before making that map, I knew that I wanted something similar for HOA. And seeing as Crystal is supposed to be a, town of old sorcerers and magic, well, I think this is the perfect opportunity. So strap in, folks, because it's time for another HOA devlog. Also, does this ship seem familiar to anyone? Nah, probably just me. So I'm actually now on a 1.21.3 client without any mods, because I want to talk a little bit about how my magic systems have worked in the past, because it's going to shape how the one for HOA works. See, in most games that have magic, you have some sort of mana, a resource that is used to cast spells. And while I do want some system like that, I don't necessarily want it to be mana, because I want this to be just a little bit more unique. And I think that what I did with the Imperishable Void was exactly what I'm looking for. As you can see on my action bar here, I have 4 dots, and these correspond to how many magic uses, charges, whatever I have. And once they're all used up, I can't cast anymore, so I have to wait for them to refill, and then I can start casting again. Additionally, these magic charges are shared between all of the different magic items. So if I cast a bunch with one, well, I can't expect to use another. I like this system for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's simple, and number 2, mana is an overdone gimmick, and I want to be unique. Although the magic items in HOA are going to work differently as they did in the Imperishable Void, they are going to be similar in the respect of using magic charges to cast. So I guess the first thing to do is to port over my code from this map into HOA. I don't usually show, like, my code in these videos. There's a reason why I pretty much left that all out in the cars video. It's pretty much because, well, it's a video about cars, I'm going to show the cars, I'm not going to show the code behind it. But in this case, I just want to show off just how simple the system is. So if you see here, every time you click with a magic weapon, in this case this is just the basic tome, it will set a cooldown on using the item, and it will take away a magic charge. And different tomes have longer cooldowns, but all of them generally cost 1 charge to use. And then after some time, you can start refilling your magic charges, which just replenishes it twice per second or every 10 ticks. Very, very simple. And now, it should be working correctly. Yeah, you can see it goes to 0, and then it fills back up to 4 in the same way that the other ones did. It's simple, it works, it doesn't rely on an annoying magic system with numbers or anything. As a matter of fact, I actually got the idea to have a system like this from Risk of Rain 2. In that game, there's a character called the Artificer who uses magic, and her primary attack has 4 charges for it before it goes on cooldown. Yeah, I definitely am copying their homework, but well, it's good homework, so whatever. I do, however, want to make it possible to have more than 4 magic charges. Like, imagine if you could have a bunch of upgrades for your character to add magic charges and go up to like 10 or something, or 20, I don't know. Now that's pretty easy to do, because as you can see here, I already have a max magic charges scoreboard. However, that would be more complicated for the action bar. The way it's currently set up just assumes that you will have 4 max charges, and adding more to that seems a bit tricky, but I bet I can do it. I really hope this doesn't take longer than I think it will. Oh boy, have I made something satisfying. You can see down at the bottom I changed the icon for the magic charges to be a little bit more, unique than just a 0. But the main thing that I want to show you is that now it updates dynamically depending on my maximum amount of charges. Isn't that cool? Oh my god, I just set it to 100. Yep, there it goes. I would show off the code for this and geek out about it if, people cared about that. TLDR, it just uses storages and macros and appends text and stuff. Yeah. Just imagine how much of a breeze the Imperishable Void would be if you could use the Hand of the Warden this many times before it goes on cooldown. But as you know, just having magic charges, mana, whatever you want to call it, is only half the battle. Because next, I need spells. And that is where this item comes in. This is the first of many magic wands that will be in the map, the Pearlescent Cane. But before I reveal any of the spells that this wand is going to have, I think I should give a little bit of lore. One of the oldest catalysts for arcane magic, created by a great sorcerer from Cristel. The people of the seaside village had a strong connection to both the world of magic and the world under the ocean. As such, many of the early scrolls and catalysts devised had a focus on mimicking the ebb and flow of the waters from which their village was built. Throughout the years, as advancements were made in technology, traditional swords were replaced with guns, heavy-plated armor replaced with cheaper combat vests, and new, innovative methods of production were designed to accelerate an industrial era. As such, uses for magic became obsolete for many. This catalyst was most likely repurposed as a walking cane when its former owner grew old. While there are many like it, most are kept under lock and key, safeguarded either by long-lost spells or by Her Majesty Mistralin. While its prowess has certainly declined as time went by, this catalyst still holds some of its former power. Amazingly, the connection to the sea was never broken. And now that the lore is out of the way, we can finally talk about spells. On this wand here, there are 2 spells, and you can see that it says I can sneak and right-click to cycle between them. So I changed it that when you're sneaking, it will show you your current spell. When you right-click, you change the spell that you're on. Right now, I'm holding right-click while continuously pressing sneak, and you can see I'm cycling between the spells pretty fast. You need to let go of sneak to cycle between the spells again, which might be a little weird, but I think it's fine. It's also important to know that this uses the shift input, not just use sneaking, so when you're swimming around, you can still change your spell. Now that's great, but currently the spells aren't actually coded, so I have to go ahead and do that. The first spell will create an orbit of pearls that will intercept enemy projectiles. I'm kinda scratching my head on how to do this smoothly. If I use item displays, I run into the same problem I have with the cars where it just does not interpolate its rotations correctly. Armor stands are another idea, but they have some complications. You already have two armor stands that I can't hit, but one of them is a marker. The one that's a marker, I can interact with things behind, meanwhile the other one, I just can't, I just end up punching it. So the obvious choice is to use the marker, right? Well, it's a little bit more weird than that. The one that isn't a marker, I can just look at and it will be visible, as you would expect. But the one that is a marker kind of phases in and out sometimes in really weird ways. And this becomes a much larger issue when I'm trying to display something. The one that isn't a marker works perfectly fine, but the one that is, yeah, it's phasing in and out of existence. It looks kind of trash. But obviously, if I make it not a marker, then I won't be able to interact with things through it, which can be pretty annoying if I want to put the beads, you know, at, like, my eyesight level. I could just not hit anything through it. So all that to say that armor stands are a very flawed method. The last idea I have is to just use particles instead and use marker entities, which, well, it is the most simple. It might not look the best, but I'm gonna try to make it work. Yeah, I'd say this worked out pretty well. So as you can see, as I use the staff more and more of these pearls start circling around me. And yeah, they're made entirely out of particles. I didn't want to use any entities because, well, that's a bit more jank. I really like the way they follow me around when I'm running as well. It kind of forms this cool looking braid pattern. As you can see here, it's blocking the skeleton's projectiles, and on the sidebar here I have a bit of a cooldown. That's for 3 seconds. So each one of these 4 pearls around here has a 3-second cooldown on being able to block a projectile. So against one skeleton, well, you're really never gonna get hit. Plus you only have one of these, because it can only, you know, block arrows around it, so you're still gonna get hit from the front when it's in the back. But you see there, it perfectly shot to the side, so my thing blocked it. And yeah, that's pretty cool. You can imagine when you're trying to block a bunch of projectiles, yeah, it's gonna do quite a lot worse because of that 3-second cooldown. I spawned way too many blazes here, oh my god, it's so loud. Right, now the entire town is on fire, amazing. But that's cool, right? Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Now it's time to, code the second spell. There's still a little bit of fire over there. God damn it. So now when I use the second spell, all the projectiles fly out in different directions. And of course, if they see a mob, then they'll collide with it and do some damage. Now by default, each of these beads does 5 damage, so you need all 4 of them to one-shot something like a skeleton. But I've also added a variable here to increase that damage. Setting this value to 10 gives me plus 1.0 damage, setting it to 15 gives me 1.5, and setting it to, I don't know, 1,250 gives me additional 125 damage. Which, you know, just is hypothetically strong enough to kill the warden. Yep. Now, obviously, the player is not going to be able to come that strong this map, but it is a cool proof of concept. So you, as the player, really gets to pick how you use this item. You could either use it defensively to ward off projectiles, or offensively to kill things. I'm really happy with how this turned out, especially how they just go in these 4 directions when they don't have a target. And just remember, this is only the first one that I've made for the map. There are going to be many more to come. I was actually planning on implementing more than one magic weapon in this devlog, but I think it's gone on for long enough, and after the first one, you get the general idea. And of course, I don't want to spoil too much about this map. I want you guys to play it and discover some of the stuff for yourself. And so that is everything that I have to show in this devlog. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go take a long break on the beach.